Hello to our big, curious family at Deep Dive. Welcome to our world. A great war is happening right now beneath our feet. A war with fronts stretching for several kilometers and with casualties reaching 30 million deaths per year. This is not science fiction. This is the reality unfolding in your backyard, in the local park, and in the cracks of the sidewalk you walk on every day. By the end of this video, you will understand the minds of this planet's true rulers and learn why their empire has endured for hundreds of millions of years. But to understand this, we must begin our story in a very strange place, with a solitary sacrifice and a flight of no return. Imagine a warm, humid night. An invisible signal, an ancient command, ripples through the entire region. Suddenly, from every nest and crevice, millions of winged beings rise to the sky. This is not a celebration, this is the nuptial flight, a massive aerial ballet of hope and death. Amidst this chaos, young, virgin queens mate with multiple males from other colonies. This is the first and last romantic encounter of their lives. The males, whose sole purpose was this one mission, will soon die and fall back to Earth. But the queen, now carrying millions of sperm for a lifetime of reign, descends to the ground alone. Her first act is one of irreversible commitment. She breaks off her own wings, bidding farewell to the sky forever. She will never fly again. Now she is alone, in a world full of predators. Out of every 500 queens who begin this journey, only one will survive to continue her story. She finds a shelter, a tiny bunker in the heart of the soil, and seals herself inside. This is the beginning of an empire. But how can a single, vulnerable creature lay the foundation for a civilization of millions? The answer lies in a single word that will forever change the way you see these creatures: the superorganism. The superorganism is not a scientific concept. It is a military doctrine, a philosophy of existence. In this civilization, a single ant is not considered an individual, it is merely a cell in the body of a much larger being called a colony. This being, this superorganism, has a queen who is its brain and reproductive system, and millions of workers who are its hands, feet, and defense system. The workers will never have offspring. They are born for sacrifice. A worker ant that leaves the nest to forage may only survive for a week, but in that single week, it collects 20 times its body weight in food for the colony. Its death is not a tragedy, it is a logistical calculation. It is a disposable part in the great machine of the colony. This is the very principle that gives them their terrifying power. When you disturb a fire ant mound, they don't flee like panicked individuals. They pour out like a unified weapon, like a surging wave, a weapon with a hair trigger ready to pay any price to defend the heart of the empire, the queen. But how does this living machine work? Through a perfect system of labor division that any army in the world would envy. This division is not written in their genes, but determined by the nutrition they receive as larvae. The colony produces exactly what it needs. The smallest workers, the minims, are the colony's delicate nurses and gardeners. The medium-sized workers, the medias, are responsible for the main task of foraging. And then there are the largest, the majors or giant soldiers, who are living war machines built for defense. Their massive heads are filled with muscle, and their mandibles deliver a disproportionate force. A soldier that is 30 times heavier than a small worker has a bite force that is 80 times stronger. They are the living shields and swords of this superorganism. But this is just the beginning, because this civilization had perfected agriculture 60 million years before humanity even conceived of it. Have you seen leafcutter ants carrying leaf fragments like flags on their shoulders? They don't eat the leaves. They are farmers. The leaves are just fertilizer for their farm, deep within their colossal nests. They chew the leaves into a pulp to cultivate a special kind of fungus. This fungus is the colony's only source of food. This is a perfect symbiotic relationship. This fungus is no longer found anywhere else in nature, and the ants have lost the ability to digest anything else. Their fates have been intertwined for 60 million years. Some species have even gone a step further, turning to animal husbandry. They raise herds of aphids. Aphids feed on plant sap and produce a sweet liquid called honeydew. Like skilled ranchers, the ants protect these aphids from predators, and in return, they milk them for the honeydew. When they migrate to a new nest, they even carry their precious livestock with them. agriculture, animal husbandry, engineering. But the true art of this civilization blossomed elsewhere, in the art of war. War is not an event in the world of ants, it is a fundamental principle, and each species has its own military doctrine. Army ants employ the doctrine of overwhelming force. They move in columns up to 100 meters long, consisting of millions of soldiers dismembering every creature in their path, from other insects to small animals. A single legion can claim 500,000 victims a day, but perhaps the most ruthless strategy belongs to the honey ants. When a new colony of this species comes to power, it begins a preemptive massacre. They attack all neighboring nests, driving the defenders back into their own homes and trapping them. Then, they advance chamber by chamber, slaughtering all workers and even newborns. Finally, they breach the royal chamber, capture the rival queen, and dismember her alive to ensure the colony is wiped from the face of the earth forever. This is the war I spoke of at the beginning. The Argentine ants, an invasive species, managed to form the largest empire on Earth thanks to a genetic mutation, a super colony stretching from Europe to Japan and California, where all members recognize each other as kin. But recently, this massive empire has fractured. In California, two super colonies that were once allies are now locked in an endless civil war. Their battlefront stretches for kilometers, and it is estimated that in this war of brothers, 30 million ants are killed each year. Let's pause for a moment and think about this. A civilization built on absolute cooperation and unconditional sacrifice. A society where individuality has no meaning and everything serves the whole. What is such a society capable of? And in the process, what does it lose? This is a question we humans have always grappled with, the balance between the I and the we. Ants solve this problem by completely eliminating the I. This has given them the power to conquer the planet. But for every perfect system, nature designs a perfect nightmare. The world of ants is full of Lovecraftian horrors. Consider a fungus called cordyceps. When a spore of this fungus lands on an ant, it penetrates its body and hijacks its nervous system. The ant becomes a zombie. The fungus forces it to leave its colony, climb a plant, and at an altitude where the temperature and humidity are ideal for the fungus's growth, lock its mandibles onto a leaf. This is the kiss of death. The ant dies in that position, and a few days later, a fungal stalk erupts from the back of its head, releasing new spores onto the unsuspecting ants below. It is a complete and horrifying takeover. Or the phorid fly, a serial killer nicknamed the surgical strike weapon. In a fraction of a second, this fly injects an egg into the body of a worker ant. The larva hatches, travels to the ant's head, eats its brain, and then releases an enzyme that severs the ant's head from its body. The new fly emerges from within the severed head. But the most terrifying enemy of the ants is not a fungus or a fly. Their most terrifying enemy is themselves, or rather, the code by which they are programmed. Communication in the ant world is based on a chemical language called pheromones. When an ant finds a food source, it leaves a chemical trail for others to follow. The more ants that follow this path, the stronger the trail becomes. A simple and brilliant system. Scientists estimate that just 1 milligram of a specific tracking pheromone is potent enough to lay a trail that could circle the Earth 60 times. This communication system is the backbone of their civilization. It seems flawless, doesn't it? But this is where our story reaches its tragic climax. This is the turn. Sometimes, by accident, a group of ants following each other lose their way and circle back onto their own pheromone trail. The first ant begins to follow the last one in the line, creating a closed loop. As each ant passes, it reinforces the trail with its own pheromones, making the signal stronger. They believe they are following a path to food, but in reality, they are trapped in an infinite loop. This phenomenon is called the death circle or the ant mill. They march in endless spiral, round and round. There is no leader to give the order to stop. There is no individual to think, this path is wrong. They simply follow a single, simple rule, follow the trail, and so they continue to walk for hours, sometimes for days, until one by one, they die of sheer exhaustion. An entire army marches itself to death, enslaved by a system error in their own fundamental code. Their greatest strength, their blind obedience to the collective rules, becomes their greatest weakness and the agent of their destruction. This is the story of the ants, the story of a superorganism, 100 million-year-old empire built on a revolutionary strategy, the complete sublimation of the individual for the survival of the collective. Through complex communication, ruthless division of labor, and absolute sacrifice, they have built one of the most enduring civilizations on Earth. As the father of sociobiology, E.O. Wilson, once quipped, Karl Marx was right, socialism works. It is just that he had the wrong species. They show us the awesome power of the collective, but at the same time, they remind us of the terrifying fragility that lies at its heart. Perhaps our greatest achievement as humans is this very ability to question the path. The ability to break the circle. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. If this video made you look at the world beneath your feet a little differently, please help us continue this journey by liking and subscribing. Your comments are incredibly valuable to us. We love you guys, and remember, always stay curious. Perhaps the next time you look at a line of ants, you'll remember that you're not just watching insects. You are witnessing the ghost of a 100 million-year-old empire, a civilization that solved the puzzle of the eye by becoming one great and unified we